Alright guys, I'm back with my review of TNA's Impact Wrestling for August 29th, 2013. And the show starts off with the Aces and Eights coming out. And Bully says that Devon was always a disappointment. He says the only person he needs is the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz. And he got Tito his very own cut. And Ken Anderson freaks out. He starts getting in Bully's face saying, "What are you doing? Do we not vote around here anymore? You just do whatever the hell you want?" And Bully's like, "That's right. I do whatever I want. And I'm patching in Tito." So he has Brooke come out with Tito's cut. And he puts it on Tito and then rips off Devon's name off the jacket. And I think what they're doing with Anderson is what they wanted to do with Luke Gallows, before he was fired. This is kind of the direction they were heading with him. And then after he was released, I guess they just decided to put it on Anderson. But I thought it was okay stuff here. At first, the crowd was really just didn't give a shit about this at all. I mean, they were chanting, "We don't care," and it was just not getting over. But I think once they started doing the stuff with Anderson and Bully, people kind of got into it. So I thought this was okay. This is also the finals in the BFG series, which is kind of surprising, but I read online a few days ago that they didn't have enough matches or something for everybody, and they didn't have enough time to get them all in, so they decided to just end it tonight, which is kind of goofy. And another thing I heard about TNA is AJ Styles is supposed to get a title shot against Bully Ray, but he had that stipulation last year where he wasn't supposed to get a title shot for a year. And I don't know why, in what universe, TNA thinks it's a good idea to jump the gun on this and give AJ a title shot when they're so close to having the year. I mean, they actually followed through with the stipulation, and they're so close to finishing it, and then AJ gets his title shot. It's been a year. He's back, and this is it. He's waited a long time for this moment, but instead they're going to jump the gun on it this close to the end? That doesn't make any sense at all. So I think that's a terrible idea. But yeah, so far, Bully Ray just patched in Tito Ortiz. That's about it. It's Jeff Hardy versus Kazarian. Match was alright. Nothing really special here. But Jeff Hardy put Kazarian in the worst figure 4 I have ever seen in my life. I thought The Miz did a shitty figure 4, but this takes the cake. I don't know how this guy grew up a fan of wrestling, did backyard wrestling, and doesn't know how to do a figure 4. But Jeff Hardy hits the Twist of Fate and the Swanton Bomb for the win, so he advances in the tournament. And they said something like, no surrenders 2 weeks away, and that's when they're going to do the Final 4 part of the BFG series. So I guess this automatically puts Jeff Hardy in the Final 4. I think that's how it's going, unless someone gets more points in their matches. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Jeff Hardy's going to be in the Final 4. Alright, so the Aces and Eights are talking backstage, and they're all pissed off. It's Briscoe, Bischoff, Nuxie, and Anderson. And they're all pissed off that they didn't vote Tito Ortiz into the club. Bully Ray just patched him in. So they're all angry about this. Wes Briscoe's acting, it's horrible. It's worse than something you see in The Room. If you've seen the movie The Room, it's like worse than that shit. But yeah, it was just terrible. And the first thing I thought when I saw this is they're gonna do an Aces and Eights version of like NWO Wolfpack, NWO Black and White. I feel like they may be going in that direction. It's Gail Kim versus ODB in a 2 out of 3 falls match, where the winner becomes the #1 contender to Mickie James' title. And I thought it was kind of boring, to be honest with you. The first fall was Gail Kim's. She made ODB tap out to some weird submission move. It was kind of like a Texas Cloverleaf. And she was holding her, and then she kind of just fell over and just sat there. And ODB tapped out. The second fall was ODB's with a roll-up. Then Gail Kim did the... Excuse me. Then Gail Kim did the figure 4 around the ring post again. And it looked like crap. And then ODB makes Gail tap out with a Texas Cloverleaf. So ODB is the new #1 contender. She's going to face Mickie James. This makes sense because Mickie James is a heel and ODB is a babyface, so you kind of knew ODB was going to win this match. But as far as the match itself goes, I didn't think this was very good at all. We got a lot of promos here. Velvet Sky is backstage. She's talking about her relationship with Chris Sabin. She says she's happy for ODB. The cameraman keeps zooming in on her breasts. Then we get Christopher Daniels and Bobby Roode. And they're talking about how Kazarian lost his match. And Bobby Roode says, I got to win my match, you got to win your match, and we still have a shot at this thing. I don't know where this extraordinary gentleman's club was at when Kazarian was losing his match, why they didn't help him. But Daniel starts talking about how they offered Austin Aries a position in the group, and he turned it down, so he's pissed off about that. Austin Aries is cutting a promo about how he doesn't need anyone. Christopher Daniels comes up and says he's going to knock Austin Aries flatter than Miley Cyrus's ass. And then Austin Aries says he's going to slap Christopher Daniels so hard that his bald head starts growing hair again. Wouldn't that be a good thing for Christopher Daniels? But yeah, that was the backstage promos here. Okay, so what the fuck just happened? The Main Event Mafia comes out, and you know something about the Main Event Mafia? They don't really feel, to me anyways, like they're actually in a feud with the Aces and Eights. They feel like just another team. Like you got the Aces and Eights, you got the Main Event Mafia. It doesn't feel like they're actually feuding with each other. They're just kind of there. But they come out, Magnus isn't there for some reason. I read something online about why he wasn't there, but I can't remember what it was. So it was Joe, Rampage, and Sting. They talk about AJ Styles and how great AJ is and how he stepped up to the plate. And they ask AJ to come out, and he comes out to the weird No One music, like the dark AJ music. And he comes out and he does the thing where he flips the hood off and it plays the Get Ready to Fly music, which was really cool last week, but is this something he's going to do every single time now? So that was kind of like, okay, so he's dark AJ again, but now he's good AJ again. He gets in the ring and tells the Main Event Mafia he's got to do this by himself. So they leave, and he cuts this really long promo, and the fans were behind AJ. They were chanting for him, and once he came out, he got a great pop. But as this promo went on and on, he kind of lost them. In fact, I think he started getting what chants. So he cuts this promo about how he was stabbed in the back by his two best friends. He can't trust anybody. The people in the truck aired his dirty laundry. And I'm like, okay, is he Dark AJ again? What the fuck is this? And then he says that, what the hell did he say here? He said something about how he's with no one. He's not actually a member of the Main Event Mafia. He hopes they kick the Aces and Eights butts, but he's not with them. He's with no one. And and then he says that he's been carrying the company for 11 years, and he was the go-to guy, and they would bring in people who were supposed to be the next big thing, and they would fail, and they'd just go back to AJ, and he's always been the go-to guy, but he likes being the go-to guy, and he's going to continue to be that guy and carry the company on his shoulders. That was the gist of it. So it's like, is he Dark AJ? Is he not? I don't know. I guess they still want to sell some t-shirts that say no one on them or something. I have no idea. I thought this was a huge clusterfuck. And this is what happens when Kurt Angle has to go to rehab and you got to get somebody to fill that spot. But you still want to keep him Dark AJ, but you also want him to be like in the main event Mafia, kind of. Like, they have no idea what they're doing with this. So I was just really confused I was just trying to figure out what direction is TNA actually going with AJ Styles. And to be honest with you, I have no answers. I have no idea what they're doing with him. I don't think he knows what they're doing with him. It's Bobby Roode versus AJ Styles. I thought the match was pretty good. There was this little girl at ringside, though, who was a huge Bobby Roode fan, screaming for Bobby Roode the entire time. Very distracting. But the match was good. AJ Styles wins with a small package, but he still doesn't have enough points to make it to the Final Four in the BFG series. So that was the match. And another thing about this AJ Styles character, he was AJ Styles, then he was Dark AJ Styles. Now he's kind of a combination of both. And AJ Styles worked. I thought Dark AJ was working. And now that they've done this combination, I don't think either of them are going to work. So they really need to figure out what exactly it is they want to do with AJ Styles. And you can't say, well, it was just for that one night. Kurt Angle was out, so they put AJ in, and they kind of screwed around with the Dark AJ character again, but they're going to go back to the Dark AJ character again. You can't really say that because now he's dressing differently. He's wearing his old tights again. He's not wrestling with the t-shirt anymore. So there are going to be changes with that Dark AJ character, and it is a combination of both, and because of that, neither will work. So I really hope they figure out what it is they want to do with this guy. Alright, so I just watched Christopher Daniels versus Austin Aries. Great match here. Both guys did a hell of a job. Austin Aries wins with the Brain Buster. So right now the Final Four is Magnus, Rude, Hardy, Austin Aries, I think. And then we see Bully Ray backstage, and he tells Tito Ortiz to keep an eye on Ken Anderson, make sure he doesn't step out of line. So Hulk Hogan comes out, and he says he's been talking to the Spike executives, and they think the Bound for Glory series should have one more match. So next week, the 12 guys in the BFG series are going to have a gauntlet match, and whoever wins is in the Final Four. And then Bully Ray comes out with Miss Tessmacher, and he's talking about Hogan's daughter again. All of this crap. And then Hogan says in 2 weeks, Bully is going to defend the title against one of his family members in the Aces and Eights. So I assume it's going to be Anderson, because the other guys don't mean shit, right? So it's got to be Anderson. Nobody cares about anybody else in that group. So that was Hogan's big announcement. Bully Ray says he refuses to do it. He's not going to do it. And Hogan just says, I'm running the show. So I guess that's his answer. And he says not only will Bully defend the title in 2 weeks against a member of the Aces and Eights, but he's going to defend the title this week against the man called Sting. So Sting comes out, they start the match, and the show goes off the air. So you got to watch next week to see what happens, obviously. That's how they've been doing these shows. But Sting's not supposed to get another world title shot. And Hogan clearly said Bully Ray would be defending the title against Sting. So that stipulation was a bunch of horse shit. Yeah, that was it. That was the end of the episode. So, as far as the show goes, I thought it was average, maybe slightly below average. You had a decent match with Bobby Roode and AJ Styles. You had a great match with Austin Aries and Christopher Daniels, and everything else was just kind of blah to me. And like the main event Mafia stuff, Magnus wasn't there, and I don't know. It didn't feel like a really good show this week. So I have to say average, slightly below average. But anyways, that's my review. Hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on the show in the comments, and thanks for watching.